Welcome in to Titan Game Day Morning Live here at Lot R, right in front of beautiful Nissan Stadium on this gorgeous but chilly Nashville morning as we get set to preview Titans versus Saints and three keys for the Titans to win their sixth game in a row. I'm Luke Worsham, Titans reporter for A to Z Sports, here with you this morning. Again, we are at Lot R at Nissan Stadium. Buck Rising will be here in just a minute to provide his thoughts on the game, so be sure to come say hi if you're over here. But the real reason you need to come over to Lot R is because, as you can see behind us, we are at the Gary Ashton tailgate, which is where you need to be before each and every Titans home game. They've got food, they've got games. It's a great place to be, and we're going to talk to you more about Gary and his team with Remax Advantage in just a little bit. We're also brought to you on Titan Game Day Morning by Two Rivers Ford and by DraftKings Sportsbook. And it's good to see everyone piling in this morning. Hello, Will, Anthony, I see Dara, I see Francis. All right, let's hop right in. We're going to go with our three keys for a Titans win today against the New Orleans Saints here at Nissan Stadium. Key number one for a Titans win today is to run the football better than last week. The one thing the Titans did well offensively last week, and we'll get more into this in just a bit with our second key, is they were really good situationally. They were good in short yardage, and they were good in goal line situations. But on first and second down, specifically in the run game, this offense struggled to get much done against the Los Angeles Rams. Now, I'm not going to sit here and criticize the Titans' performance against the Rams because they dismantled one of the best teams in the NFL, and they deserve their due credit for that. But the reason that they won that game, as you all know, right, is because of the strength of the Titans' defense. The Titans' defense and getting those two crucial turnovers in the first half with the David Long and Kevin Byard interceptions, that's what ultimately won the Titans this game. And for them to beat the Saints today, they're going to need to reverse course a little bit, especially in the run game. Let's talk a little bit about what Adrian Peterson and Mike Vrabel and Todd Downing had to say throughout the practice week about the running game, because I asked Vrabel some questions about it. Downing got asked about it. Peterson got asked about it. And all three were sort of in agreement that the run game needs to be better this week. When I asked Vrabel about what sort of went wrong in the Rams game, he said, well, we need to block better this week. And then he sort of got really serious and said, because when you don't block well, that's when people get hurt. So clearly Mike Vrabel not very happy with the offensive line's efforts in last week's game, and it showed. Adrian Peterson and Deontay Foreman had very few holes to run into throughout the course of that game last week. But beyond that, I think Foreman did a good job. Right? He had nearly 6 yards per rush. But Adrian Peterson was just not good last week. And a lot of it, I don't think, had to do with his age. It was mostly mental problems. Peterson was taking entirely too long to pick his holes in some cases, just sort of standing there and trying to read things out before ultimately getting tackled in the backfield. And then when he did pick his hole, when he did get going and get past the line of scrimmage, in his own words, Adrian Peterson was running too high. Now, Adrian Peterson, when he was with the Minnesota Vikings and having all of that success, he did that as a low downhill runner. He did that as someone who could get his shoulder pads down and at linebackers and make plays that way. And Peterson himself admitted on Friday that did not happen against the Rams. He was running entirely too high. And Todd Downing, when he was asked about the running game and the problems against the Rams last week, Todd Downing said that it looked like there might have been some rust from these guys in Deontay Foreman and Adrian Peterson, who were coming into the league after having sat out all season. So you got to run the football better if you're the Titans today. And I think the points to doing that, what needs to happen, is like Vrabel said, you got to block better. Like Todd Downing said, the rust needs to be knocked off. And like Adrian Peterson said, he specifically needs to run lower. He needs to get those pads down and run with the same aggression, the same downhill style that allowed him to be successful against when he was with the Vikings, when he was with the Redskins, and even last year in Detroit. So that's key number one to a Titans win today, is run the football better. And off of that, I have a question for you all, because I can actually see the comments with the way that the sun is shining. So I'm interested to see what you all think. How many yards do the Titans need to run for today to get a win against the Saints? Now, not just Adrian Peterson, because we know he's going to start, we know he's going to be a factor, But I want to know, Peterson and Foreman combined, how many yards do you think those guys need to run for the Titans to get a win today? We will get to those comments in the chat in just one moment. As you're thinking about your answers, you're typing your answer in the chat, I want to talk to you about our friends at Two Rivers Ford, because Two Rivers Ford is where you need to go if you're looking to buy a car in the Nashville area. We talk about them every week on this show, and I always remind you that Two Rivers Ford, they have non-commissioned salespeople, which means you are going to have a comfortable buying experience when you go shop for cars at Two Rivers Ford. You're not going to get pestered. You're not going to get harassed. You're not going to be made uncomfortable, and they're not going to try to guilt you into making a decision that you wouldn't ordinarily make. You're going to be in a decision to think about it. You're going to be in a comfortable position to evaluate your options and make the best decision for you, your family, and your bank account. And in addition to that, Two Rivers Ford has a guarantee for you, which is if you go and you're looking around and there's a particular color or model that you want that they don't have in stock, they will order it for you. That is the Two Rivers Ford guarantee. So go give them a visit or give them a call at 800-900-1000. So Reed, why don't you throw some comments up there as I see people responding to the question. You're not on there, are you? Are you on there? No. So I saw one comment. It said 230 yards. I thought that might have been a bit aggressive. Let's see if we can get some more up there. Brian says 75 yards. John says 155. Hugo says 120. So you guys clearly think that running the football well is going to be a big key in this game. Maybe you guys are worried about Julio Jones not being out there. But let's move on to our second key. We're going to stick with the offense here as we broadcast from Lot R at Nissan Stadium ahead of Titans versus Saints. Key number 2 is something that the Titans did well last week that they need to keep up, right? Because our first key was something that didn't happen last week that the Titans need to change. Key number 2 is going to be something that they did last week that needs to keep up, and that is this offense needs to play well situationally, especially in the red zone. If you listened to Mike Vrabel's post-game speech that the Titans put on their Twitter account, you heard him tell the offense, hey, I don't know how we got down there, but it doesn't matter. When we got down there, we scored in the red zone. And for the Titans to beat the Saints again today, that's going to need to happen. The Titans against a team that, has a lot of weaknesses, and we'll get more into that in just a moment. But the Titans against a team like the Saints, they've got to be able to take advantage of their red zone opportunities, because you know how you lose to a team that's quarterbacked by Trevor Siemian? Kicking a lot of field goals. We saw the Titans do that in their disastrous loss to the New York Jets, where they had 3 red zone possessions right in a row in the first 2 quarters, and all 3 turned into field goals, and that was the difference in that game. For the Titans to rise to the occasion against another team that is an underdog and probably not much is expected out of them, the Titans have to reverse course from what happened in that Jets game and continue to do what they did so well last week against the Rams. When they get inside the 20, when they get in those scoring opportunities, they've got to convert those to touchdowns, because field goals, ultimately, sure, I guess they could win you this game, but that's not the best path to winning this game. The best way for the Titans to win this game is to do so by converting their red zone opportunities into touchdowns. That is key number 2 for a Titans victory in today's game against the Saints. We're going to get to key number 3 in just a minute. We're going to swap sides of the ball, talk about the defense. First, though, I want to talk to you about the guy whose face you see behind me right there, Gary Ashton and his team at RE/MAX Advantage. Gary is the official real estate provider of the Titans and of the Nashville Predators, and he has that title for a reason, because he is the best in the business. It's a super competitive housing market these days in Nashville, and so if you're looking to buy or sell, you don't need to do that. You don't need to sell right without the intel. That's Gary's catchphrase, and the reason that's his catchphrase is because he has the intel to give you, to put you in position to get the most bang for your buck for your house, or if you're looking to buy, he puts you in position to get your dream address without the stress. And you'll hear more from Gary in just a little bit. But again, Gary is the official real estate provider of the Titans, of the Predators. So don't sell without the intel. Get your dream address without the stress. Give Gary Ashton and his team a shout by going to GaryAshton.com. Luke Worsham, Titans reporter for A to Z Sports Nashville, here with you at Lot R of Nissan Stadium, the Gary Ashton tailgate ahead of Titans versus Saints. Key number 3 for Titans win, swapping sides of the ball, talking about the defense. This Titans pass rush, guys, needs to continue to be unleashed by Shane Bowen. I wrote a column on Friday morning at A to Z Sports.com that you can go read about how Shane Bowen and his coordination of this pass rush is becoming a real weapon for the Titans, beyond simply guys like Landry, Autry, Dupree, and Jeffrey Simmons winning their individual matchups and affecting the quarterback in that way. Because what we're watching with this pass rush, with this Titans group, the TTM, as some of you guys have referred to them lately, we're watching something really special happening with this group. Because they have the talent. They have 4 blue-chip guys that are getting after the quarterback on third downs. But beyond that, they're extraordinarily coordinated. They're on the same page with each other. They're on the same page with their coordinator. And as a result, it's not just 4 guys operating individually. They're working towards similar goals, guys, beyond just sacking the quarterback. A lot of times you'll notice that if one edge, flushes the quarterback to one side, there's always someone there waiting for him. And that's not something that happens with individual effort. That's something that comes through practice, that comes through coaching, and it comes from being on the same page. It's the Titans' biggest weapon right now with Derrick Henry being out. And so for the Titans to get a win against the Saints, to win their 6th straight, we need to continue to see that group unleashed. We need to continue to see that group affecting the quarterback in the same way that they have all season. So that is our key. Number 3, to a Titans win today, affect the quarterback, continue to unleash this pass rush. Next up, we're going to get into our best bet before Buck Rising joins us over here at Lot R of Nissan Stadium. And our best bet is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, who has a great deal going on for you today. Right now, if you head to DraftKings.com/sportsbook, you give them the promo code A to Z Sports. Here's what they're going to give you. Put $1 on any NFL team to score, not to win, to score in today's game. And when that inevitably happens, that $1 is going to become $100 in free bets. That is the deal that DraftKings Sportsbook has going on for you. So head to DraftKings Sportsbook, use the promo code A to Z Sports, take advantage of that offer. And when you get your $100 in free bets, you might want to use it on this bet, because our best bet of the game is A.J. Brown over 78.5 receiving yards. Mr. Week-to-week Julio Jones will not be playing in today's game, or at least the next 2 after being placed on injured reserve. And so A.J. Brown is going to be the focal point for the Titans in the passing game. And look, he's going to see a lot of Marshawn Lattimore today. We know that, the super talented cornerback that the Saints have. But this is still someone that is going to be getting tons of opportunities. And 78 in the modern NFL just really isn't that high of a number. So I'd hit the over on A.J. Brown getting 78.5 receiving yards. And that is your best bet of the game, brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. As now we bring Buck Rising into the show. We only have one mic for you today, so we're going to do this interview style.
Oh, yeah? How you feel about that?
I don't know. Can you see? You want to make sure your head's in there?
I think my head's in there.
Okay.
If I need to scoot. I mean, I can squat.
Well, I have to lower it because I'm 5'8". So as I look at this game, here's what I think the meaning of this is. You're playing a terrible quarterback in Trevor Siemian. You are playing a good run defense, number 1 in the league. But this is a Saints team that the Titans should be expected to beat, and they are. So what I think comes from this game is we see, after 5 straight wins, have the Titans finally detoxed from their adversity addiction? Have they finally gone away from this system we've seen under Vrabel for the last 3.5 years, where they bring everybody up and get everyone so excited, and then they just absolutely drop kick them afterward?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to find out, right? This is the best opportunity to find out about this team when it, again, is down bad on the side of the offense as far as the injury report is concerned. I'm sure you've talked about the fact that Julio Jones was placed on IR yesterday. I mean, the adversity addiction, you got to be cognizant of what Trevor Siemian's doing right now. He's 3 touchdowns, he's no interceptions. Now he'll be without left tackle Teron Armstead, which is massive, and without Alvin Kamara, which is going to be, I mean, it's a massive part. Whatever Derrick Henry is to the Titans offense, Alvin Kamara is that to the New Orleans Saints. So he's vulnerable. You have to be able to take advantage. You're lucky that the best thing that you do right now is get after the quarterback. This is a quarterback who probably isn't going to perform well under pressure.
Let's hit on Julio for just a second, because I was with some friends last night and someone said, well, what do you think about them putting him on IR? Is this going to finally get him right? And my response was, I think it's a good decision. I don't disagree with the decision to put him on IR. I don't know that it is going to yield anything that has not already happened, because he's been week to week. He sat out 2 weeks earlier in the season. He missed the Jets game, missed the Jags game, and nothing changed. This guy's still week to week, still can't run a quick out without hurting his hamstring. Is anything going to come of this? Because I keep seeing fans saying, well, if he's ready by playoff time, everything's going to be okay. I'm starting to wonder if that's even going to happen, though.
I mean, I'm kind of going into this with the assumption that he's probably got one big Julio game. He probably got one big Julio game, right? With the way that the hamstring is being as day-to-day as it is at this point.
You mean one more?
One more.
Yeah.
Like one more big Julio game. Like, what was that? Seattle was probably the biggest one of the season for him thus far. I mean, he had really, really critical catches against the Los Angeles Rams in the second half when A.J. Brown was having difficulties with his consistency. But, yeah, I mean, go into this thinking you got one Julio bullet left, and at that point you want to pick when you're going to use it. And at this point, they don't need it over the next 3 weeks, or they think they can survive or in a good enough position to be able to survive it for the next 3 weeks. It's unsatisfactory. It's the nature of the situation. You just got to be realistic about what Julio is at 32.
The Titans won last week, as we were talking about earlier, because of the defense, right? The 2 turnovers in the first half is really what made that game what it was. Do you think that the offense's inability to move the ball outside of those short yardage, because, again, they were great situationally, but on first and second down, it was not very good. Was that growing pains? Was that, I guess, learning how to live without Henry? Or is that something that maybe can have a fog over this team moving forward?
I mean, respectfully, that was Bobby Hart.
Yeah.
I mean, like Bobby Hart has not played a ton of left tackle. He's been a backup right tackle in the league. He was thrust into action in a way that Ty Sambrailo wasn't happy about being thrust into action. As Taylor Lewan's backup, it happened again. And you got the Bobby Hart experience. It mitigates what you're able to do on obvious passing downs. It mitigates what you're able to do in 3rd and 6 plus, early downs when you're trying to get ahead of the sticks. And if you get in 3rd and long against this defense, they're going to tee off on you the same way that the Rams did. So having Lewan and Nate Davis in theory back is going to be critical. And you hope that you don't have to survive the Taylor Lewan experience from week to week the same way that you're having to worry about Julio Jones and without some of your offensive skill position players.
This team, I was listening to you talk to Coach Mack yesterday, and he was talking about how when he has these national interviews, all they want to talk about is the injuries with this team. It really is amazing what they've done so far in overcoming this stuff. Is there going to be a point, though, where the bottom falls out and they just run out of juice, though? Because I think that's what you start worrying about.
Well, yeah. I mean, if there's no hope in getting Derek back, we don't know that at this point. If the offensive line continues to be a literally play-by-play proposition, as it has been for the starting 5, yeah, I mean, that offensive line, if it goes south, can nuke you very, very quickly because your running game isn't designed to be able to survive without Derek in a substantive way. He's a 2,000-yard running back in a 1,500-yard offense, and what you have to supplant him is 36-year-old Adrian Peterson, who lacked quite a bit of explosiveness in a way that Josh Reynolds wishes he could have. So what I'll say to you is that, yeah, that's their biggest flaw. Every team in the AFC is flawed. The Ravens are flawed as far as what Miami was able to do to them. Buffalo, Kansas City, the Raiders at this point. Everybody's got something that can absolutely nuke their season. For the Titans, it's the health of this offensive line.
Are we talking to Gary Ashton today? Is he here?
No, he's in San Diego, which sounds lovely. I was in L.A. last week. San Diego, I think, has much nicer weather.
What did you think about L.A.? Because I went when I was in high school and was not a big fan other than the 3 hours I spent at Dodger Stadium.
Well, being in high school allows you only so many activities that being over the age of 21 does not. So my experience is a lot different.
The all-you-can-eat section at Dodger Stadium was a fine opportunity, I must say.
Well, I'm glad you got drunk on Dodger dogs.
Dodger dogs and lemonade and popcorn. that was my medicine last
SoFi was really cool. If the Titans go back, I wouldn't mind another trip.
Give us something to watch for in this game. What are you paying attention to? Because I think the Saints are a bit of a weird team with their quarterback situation. They're sort of like hanging on, I think, by a thread there after the Drew Brees retirement, kind of figuring out what happens next.
Feels like the Colts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that I think I'm watching for how Mike Vrabel and Shane Bowen, and if you want to give it to Jim Schwartz or whomever's coordinating this pass rush right now, how they attack the left side of that Saints offensive line. The delayed blitzes work incredibly well with this team, where you have Danico Autry and Harold Landry set a wall and Jeffrey Simmons loop around, or whoever you're doing that with Autry and Landry and Dupree. Yeah, I mean, the defensive line has been the story for the last 5 weeks. Why not make it another one today?
I do want to ask you about Jim Schwartz, because when I wrote my column on Friday about Bowen coordinating the pass rush, all the comments I saw were, well, who you need to really be giving the credit to is Jim Schwartz. I disagree with that. I assume you do too.
Well, yeah, it's dumb. I mean, it's as dumb as making Shane Bowen the problem all of last year. Like, it's just
Which we have learned, like, as loudly. It has been declared from the rooftops with a bullhorn.
Yeah, because I've been telling you that it's not just propaganda, and finally we got somebody logical to buy in to something that only is the most logical situation in the world.
It's one of those situations where you get more facts and you change your opinion.
Nuance in sports talk. It doesn't exist.
All right, and unless you have something else to add, we're going to wrap this up.
No, I think this one mic experience has been very interesting, and thank you for the interview today.
All right, I will be heading right now to the mainstay to do the pre-game, halftime, and post-game show with Austin. Zach is incapacitated today, so I will be stepping in for him. Will not be attending the game today. Very sad that I won't be able to watch Trevor Siemian. I enjoyed it so much in training camp last year.
I'm here for Cam Jordan. I'm not here for Trevor Siemian.
All right, everybody, be sure to tune in to the pregame, halftime, and postgame show starting at 11:30 live from the mainstay. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the game. We will see you on